So today I've got my hair in braids, applied my darkest red lipstick, and am sporting some of my most Abbyest attire. And that can only mean one of two things. Either I'm about to ditch this video and live out my dreams of being Wednesday Addams, or we're about to talk about lockdown. Or both, depending on how the week goes. So we start out with this stereotypically ditzy girl texting and driving to the point where I'm not really even sure how she got a license, and she ends up crashing into this car, and when she opens the trunk, there's a dead person inside. This is probably the only episode where texting and driving has kind of saved the day. So Abby wants to switch offices, but HR won't let her, and so she's trying to bribe Gibbs to do it, and he's like, no. Abby changes the sign that says greatest boss in the world to not the greatest boss in the world, and speaking of things that are not great, Jake calls Bishop. It's just another scene kind of illustrating the tension between them right now. McGee tries to talk to her about it and she gets kind of annoyed but ends up opening up a little bit. So the dead man they found was named Doblin, and they discover that he was divorced 3 times, has no family and no friends, and Gibbs is like, same. Then Abby goes down to Autopsy, and side note, remember when she was like afraid to go down here and now she's just casually strolling in? The little baby has grown up so much. I'm so proud of her. It's a really nice scene between Abby and Ducky and Jimmy in Autopsy, and it's nothing really big, like nothing out of the ordinary happens. They just have really nice chemistry between them. Like they're the other 3 musketeers, and it's great. Abby's still annoyed at Gibbs, so she makes a fake field trip form for him to sign. We've really brought that father-daughter relationship to a whole nother level today. She's able to leave the lab, and it's so sassy, and it's so wonderful. So Abby goes to the pharmaceutical company to investigate some of these compounds and toxins, and Abby meets herself if she were a short blonde British woman. So all of a sudden all of these alarms go off that would typically classify an Ebola leak, but then they hear all these gunshots happening in the background. So either we've really given up on finding a medicinal approach to Ebola and have just decided to shoot the germs. I think something else is happening. Lo and behold, the janitors have gone rogue and have shut this place down and are holding hostages until they get the information that they want. Such weird things are happening today, like criminals want to be janitors, Abby wants to leave her lab. Next thing you know, McGee will want the respect he deserves. It's so weird. Gibbs goes undercover to this ritzy house to figure out what's going on, and all of a sudden the entire cast of The Real Housewives of NCIS is revealed, and they all call him Mr. Botox, and Gibbs is alarmed. Literally, he keeps pushing the car alarm like, help me! Turns out the guy was desperate for money and making fake Botox injections. As per usual, all of the women are insulting DiNozzo and trying to seduce McGee. That's such an interesting situation that I don't think we've exploited enough yet. The woman that Abby's visiting keeps trying to convince her to go and hide, but Abby's like, no, I gotta save the day. So she sneaks out and locks the computers and is hiding in a closet. And the criminals are in the room with her, but she's still talking to herself in the closet. She calls Gibbs to let him know what's going down, so him and the team are on their way over. Meanwhile, they figure out that Abby Shudo is in the building and she's a Fed and they gotta be super wary. The NCIS team comes and they run into the CEO woman of the plant. The CEO's like, no, this isn't a robbery, this is an Ebola outbreak. And the team's like, we know this isn't an Ebola outbreak because this storyline would have been so 8 months ago. Lo and behold, DiNozzo contacts the robbers on the radio to prove that yes, there is a robbery happening. The woman still wants Abby to hide, and Abby's like, no, I have to be brave, I have to save these people, I have to save the day. Abby's making fake bombs and like planting her parasol to trick the people. In the end, she's stuck in the computer room with them and she threatens to unleash this toxic gas that would kill them, but it would also kill her in the process. Abby says, I would rather give my life in order to save the lives of all these innocent people. She releases the gas and it gets real intense for a couple moments. She's knocked out and then the team comes in and she wakes up and reveals that it was just a different gas, one that would only knock them out. Abby introduces Gibbs to her new friend. She's like, okay, actually you can arrest her because she's actually a bad guy too. What a twist. The woman turns out to be a really intense activist and keeps getting herself into trouble standing up for the causes she believes in. In the end, Abby still defends the woman and is like, no, she's actually a good person. In the last scene, Gibbs comes down to Abby's lab and he's like, I talked to the people, if you want to switch labs, it's all yours. And Abby's like, you know what? I think I've had enough fun for now, so I'm staying. The end. First of all, this wasn't just a good episode for Abby, this episode was so funny. This episode got to show Abby working with someone kind of like herself and how she kind of womans up and takes the reins when she needs to, and she can be badass, she can be brave, and she's so smart. It was an awesome episode for Abby. So that was Lockdown, and I will see you guys for the spoilers and theories video for NCIS Season 13, Episode 6, Viral. I couldn't remember the title, so I started the sentence hoping that it would come to me by the end, and it did. Good call, me.